Alright guys, so here's the next part for what if GT Goku was sent back to the past. So what happens in this part is that we see Goku and Krillin training, and Roshi tells them about the upcoming tournament where the strongest fighters will be competing. To which Goku is really interested in this, and he says, yes, I would really like to participate in this. To which Roshi says, okay, and he signs them up. So for the remaining few days towards this tournament, Goku and Krillin are training for this tournament, and Goku then gives Krillin some techniques that he knows. He basically, because he knows he can trust Roshi, tells him about what happened and how he's going to train everyone that he is friends with to become as powerful as possible. To which Roshi says that that's a good goal. And Roshi then thinks of ways that even he can become more powerful to help Goku with his mission. As then Goku is training with Krillin, and Goku says, you're not supposed to know this, but I will teach you a technique that will boost you significantly. And Krillin says, what's the name of this technique, Goku? As Goku says, it's called the Kaioken. By using this technique, you can multiply your power by a great amount. The drawback, however, is that it causes immense strain on your body. To which Krillin says, that sounds like a good technique. I may not be able to use it very well right now, but it would be good to know. As Goku spends the rest of the time teaching Krillin how to do the Kaioken. So Krillin manages to get the basics of it down, but at this point in time, since he is technically still a child, at most he can only do the normal Kaioken, which doubles his power, but nothing more than that. And only for a short time at that, around 30 seconds. So Krillin realizes he has to use this power very carefully, because after those 30 seconds, he's basically out of energy and is exhausted. So now, in the meantime, we go to see what has happened with Piccolo and Commander Gold. As you see, Piccolo has gone through some significant improvements. Commander Gold explains to Piccolo how they were testing something. It was called the Infinite Energy Engine, and it's still in the prototype stage. But he asks Piccolo if he would like to be implanted with this prototype. The issue is that it cannot work forever. It will need to be improved at some point. But for now, as long as he doesn't try something extreme, his Infinite Energy Engine will work for him and will make him quite powerful. As Piccolo looks at this and he says, yes, I will take it. It will take me far. As Piccolo then receives this Infinite Energy Engine, making him much more powerful than usual. On top of this, Commander Gold says, so what abilities do you have that I can upgrade? As Piccolo then says, I have the ability to generate offspring, little demons, you might call them. The drawback is, however, it takes a toll on my lifespan, but due to this Infinite Energy Engine, I think I'll be able to do much more. But then Dr. Jiro warns him, remember, it has its limits. I think you can only do one extremely powerful technique. Once you do more than that, it will stop operating, and it could even dramatically harm you. As Piccolo then thinks, and he decides, instead of generating a few offspring, I've come up with a decision. I'll concentrate all the focus I can into generating my successor in case everything goes wrong. I will call him Piccolo Jr. As he then focuses all his power with his now increased power level of 700, and he puts all of it into generating and his offspring with an exactly same power level as him. As Piccolo is formed in an egg with a power level of 700 from birth. As Piccolo says, yes, that will do nicely. As then Piccolo then sets out to this tournament to show Goku his strength. As Piccolo has gone, basically now, Commander Gold looks at Piccolo Jr. still in his egg as he comes up with a plan to make Piccolo Jr. more powerful than his father could have ever been. Since Piccolo Jr. is still developing, he then decides to implant Piccolo Jr. with some technology that will combine with him as he develops. He puts some of this Goku DNA into his body. As this multiplies his power, as he says, good thing I managed to analyze Goku's DNA. He has the ability to rapidly get stronger every time he's beaten, and on top of this, he has some unique locked power to power up. I don't know how this works, but it will come in helpful, as Piccolo then gains this ability. On top of this, Commander Gold then, instead of giving the issue with the Demon King Piccolo, is that they put the infinite energy engine while he was an adult, making it not perfectly combined with his body, but with Piccolo Jr. it could be perfectly combined, as he then implants Piccolo Jr. with this infinite energy engine, making him immensely powerful. Then, using these two forms of research, Commander Gold then says, just in case this doesn't work, I'll send off spy bots to carry out all the information they can and to collect DNA to my secret weapon, the one that my father designed before he was captured or killed. I still do not know what happened to him. As I will create Cell, his ultimate goal, as he then puts his spy bots on and sends them out to collect data on every single fighter, as the robots are collecting information and feeding it back to his computers. So in the meanwhile, Commander Gold decides that he doesn't want to be tracked anymore, as he then goes into hiding, coming up with more ingenious plans for his goal. After this, we see the tournament between between the fighters, and we see the matchups. Krillin gets set off to fight our usual fighters, and then this culminates in a fight in the semi-finals between Goku and Krillin, to which Krillin decides to show Goku what he learned, as Krillin fights Goku in his base, and Goku wonders why doesn't Krillin use the Kaioken, as Krillin came up with an ingenious strategy, as he shows Goku his destructor discs that can cut anything that they get into contact with and how he can control them. So Goku is busy dodging these destructor discs, and while Goku's guard is down, Krillin then in a split second says Kaioken times 4, and in a split second, just as he lands a punch on Goku, his power multiplies by 4 times, leaving Goku gasping for air, as Krillin says, pretty smart, isn't it? I can only do that one more time though before I pass out, and I've already lost half my energy doing that, but it concentrates my power into a small fraction of time, making me immensely powerful for that split second, as Goku is impressed by this. But then he says, if this was back in time when I was actually this age, then that could have actually knocked me out. But unfortunately, you're not on my level yet, Krillin. As Goku then charges up his ki, as he then says Kaioken, as this is just a normal Kaioken, but Goku can control it almost perfectly, as he then punches Krillin, as Krillin flies out of the ring. And then they announce the next matchups, which are Goku versus Piccolo Sr., and this brings fear to anyone who knows who Piccolo is, as they did not know that Piccolo had been resurrected at this very moment. As Piccolo then comes and he says, so you're this boy who I sensed with a power level that was giant. Well, I have come up with a way to stop you now. As Piccolo says, behold, I possess the ability of infinite energy. You cannot stop me. And on top of this, I saw this technique that you showed this boy, as you had used it before. And some spy bots picked up on this technique, and it was implanted into my brain, as I now possess this ability of Kaioken. As Piccolo laughs, and then he shouts and bulks up, Kaioken times 10, as Piccolo went from a measly 700 to a power level of 7,000. No one knew what to do at this point, as no one had ever sensed a power level this large. And I'll say for this scenario, since Piccolo did have ki control and the infinite energy engine, that they can actually sense his ki. The androids weren't actually good at martial arts before they turned into androids, so they probably had no ki control, so they just relied on the infinite energy engine. Here Piccolo uses both, so he can be sensed, so everyone could sense how strong Piccolo was. As Piccolo then says, "Let's see what you can do, son Goku." As Goku then looks at Piccolo, ready for the challenge, as he then says, fair enough, watch my power level now." As Goku goes into Kaioken times 3, putting them at about the same level as they launch into battle. Goku, knowing he could defeat Piccolo at any time, but simply wanting to test out his capabilities. As Goku lands punches on Piccolo, knocks him around a bit, Piccolo gets enraged and also starts doing the same. And eventually it's neck and neck. Piccolo exhausted to some degree, but due to his infinite energy, he's not out of stamina yet. As Goku realizes that at this rate they'll keep fighting forever. As Goku goes into Kaioken times 5, which is enough to beat Piccolo, as he starts knocking Piccolo to the ground and Piccolo is beaten heavily. As then he gets angry and he says, "My last ditch effect." As he then says, "Kaioken times 20. As he hits 14,000 in a split second and punches Goku, bringing him on the back foot, breaking Goku's leg and his arm. This dramatically injuring Goku. As Piccolo launches more and more attacks, Goku, due to his injured state, not able to harness his full power anymore. And Goku regrets underestimating Piccolo, as he then decides to go into Kaioken times 15 himself. But just as he's about to think of doing that and risk injuring himself since he doesn't have infinite energy, something happens. Piccolo says, "No," as he feels a crack in his chest. The infinite energy engine could only go so far. It couldn't actually take him through a whole Kaioken times 20 at this point, as he then starts taking damage and more damage internally. And just as Piccolo was about to shut it off, it didn't work, as he starts deteriorating from the inside. His lower body gets ripped in half by the explosion of the engine, and on top of that, his heart that was right next to it is about to get destroyed, as Piccolo Senior realizes that he's about to die. As he's about to try a one last ditch attempt, Goku says, "No, I cannot let him survive any longer," as he then shoots a blast at Piccolo, killing him for good. So that's how the end of the Demon King Piccolo takes place. After this, Goku moves on with life, makes sure to meet Chi-Chi and marries her, and basically there's a time of peace for a few years. In the meanwhile, Commander Gold had also implanted himself with Saiyan cells and had been training with Piccolo. "Good job, my boy. You will grow up to be very strong," as Piccolo Jr.'s power level now is immensely higher than the best that his father could do, with him rocking a power level of 25,000 at this current point in time. As Commander Gold says, "Keep this up, my boy, and you will grow strong." What he did not know is that Demon King Piccolo, instead of trying to create another egg, sent a message to his unborn child before he died, as he then told Piccolo Jr. to become strong and to take over this world and treat every human as if they're below him. As Piccolo Jr. knows this and is only using Commander Gold for power and plans to kill him at his nearest convenience. So this is where this part ends, and if you guys enjoyed it, I'll make part 3 as soon as possible and post it. Thanks for watching and have a good day.